Hello again, Yaksamash, and welcome back to Wrench Reads, Trilogy of Morgalla, Diary of a Lonely Demon, number 11. As always, the annotation is popping up right now for the introduction to this series. Go back there if this is the first one you've read or watched. And as always, the link to the novel that I'm going to be reading, or to the Amazon anyway, is in the description box below. It's good to be back. Bit of a full weekend, a bit of a rocky ride on my end, but that's completely neither here nor there when it comes to these readings. But today, the introduction I'd like to talk about very briefly is tied to a video that came across my desk over the weekend. I'm going to link to it both in the annotation and in the description box. Take a few seconds, pause this video, go watch it, and then come back. I'll give you just a brief pause here. Okay. Hopefully by now you've kind of seen how this pertains to Diary of a Lonely Demon and John David, our intrepid hero, or our intrepid author, as the case may be. Found this on, Morgalla Sucks Facebook page. While I don't really want to get too into just the personally at homs against John, this really makes me feel as though this is something that actually came out of John's mouth at one point, because there were two characters talking, the one with the light tan beige dog bear thing, and the higher pitched, darker colored dog bear thing. The first, of course, seems like you're John, your average nobody who doesn't really know anything about the publishing industry, doesn't know anything about actually writing a novel, and the other person, Dog Bear Thing, has a little bit of knowledge as to the workings of the actual publishing industry. There's very little I need to add to that. It really shows how much detail there goes into actually publishing a novel. And there were a number of things that the darker colored Dog Bear Thing kind of talked about. For instance, writing a proper manuscript. This is not as easy as some folks kind of might impose. A lot of folks think it's just, writing a longer short story and making it flow and things like that. For my work, for my actual work, we write manuscripts all the time, and these are more often than not 50, 60 pages in length, but these are edited, then re-edited, then re-edited, then sent off to the head of research to edit or add or subtract things that he doesn't like. Then it's re-edited and sent to another group of researchers that are then do the same thing, and then it's re-edited, and then it's given to a publisher or a paper that is then capable of publishing it or rejecting it. So, I mean, it's a very long, very lengthy process. A lot of folks really just don't get that. And this is the same way for novels. You don't actually send it off to a researcher, but it's still it takes a long time. And I think John knows this, especially because of how long it took him to write his first and then his second book. However, the manuscript is only one part of it, and it's only one part that makes sense if you actually edit it, if you actually have an editor, if you have someone who's going to read it for you, give defined, definite, and very clear critique that'll help you improve it. And an idea only gets you so far. I have numerous ideas that I would love to turn into books. However, I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have a number of different things, including I haven't been reading a lot of novels lately myself to hone my craft through looking at other people's examples. I write plenty, but I tend to write things that are enjoyable for me. I write a lot of free writing. I write a lot of on the play-by-post RP, like the Chaos Revamped, like I mentioned last week. But that's only for me. That's not supposed to be publishable quality work. Now, when you take something like that and do what John did, and essentially shove it out the door as quickly as possible, get it published, try to make some money off of it, you get things like The Diary of a Lonely Demon, which, and I'll use this term because I think it's applicable here, a term known as fractal wrongness. It's wrong on every level. I mean, if I didn't have something to talk about every reading, every section of this book, if there wasn't something wrong in every section of this book that I could talk about, I wouldn't be doing these videos. Even though reading this would be, you know, a fantastic way of showing off John's idiocy, it doesn't make sense for me to talk about the book itself unless it's just that bad. So this, just take heed. John's book is essentially what you get when you have no idea as to the actual workings of the publishing industry, and you have no idea what it takes, what it really takes, to put out a published quality piece of work. So, okay, that's it for the introduction. Bit of a ramble, but I hope it was informative. And read and watch that video. It's really cool. It's really informative. But I got to get started because this chapter 4 is a bit of a... It's crap, but it's crap because the entire chapter is a single scene. Very few paragraph, or very few sentence breaks, and it's a fairly long read. So there's about 5% of the book is in chapter 4. That would ideally be about 5 videos, and I don't want to spend 5 videos talking about the same chapter. So I'm going to get started. And again, thanks for coming by. Rate, comment, subscribe. And, yeah, go on like normal. Chapter 4. A Normal Night at Shenanigans. Shenanigans was often the place where many in Springdale would come to unwind after a long day. It was busy for a weeknight, not too surprising since the weather was getting colder by the day. Jasper was at the entrance, and many people had been flooding in. He looked at his watch. He had been waiting for a while, and it was getting dark. He finally saw Andy, a young man of the same age he had known for years through school and work, running up to the door. Jasper was surprised that Megan was not with him. "Where's Megan?" "She had something to do at work. She'll join us later," Andy replied. He noticed that Jasper was alone. "Where's Mariette?" "Long story. I've had the worst day." They entered and walked toward the area where the billiard tables were. There weren't many tables left in the smoke-filled area. The bar was busy, as always, with people of all kinds. Though early in the evening, the alcohol was flowing, and people were forgetting their day, whether it had been good or bad. Andy pointed out an open table that was in view of the old-fashioned jukebox, and they made a claim on it. Jasper accidentally bumped shoulders with a large man. "Sorry," he said, as the person turned to look down at him. This beast of a man looked like a troglodyte. He was incredibly muscular and tall, like a brick wall that had started walking and talking. His hair was messy and unclean, and his forehead sloped like a caveman's. Bloodshot eyes looked down as he sneered at the intimidated Jasper, who had to take a step back. He could have sworn he saw fangs in his oversized teeth. "Watch it, human," the beast of a man growled at him. "Geez, sorry." Jasper and Andy continued on, noticing the man turning... Jasper and Andy continued on, noticing the man turning to look back at the billiard tables, almost as if he were watching someone. "What the hell is that guy?" Andy whispered. You know it's being italicized now. They got situated with the table and ordered a first round from the waitress. It would be the only round since it was a weeknight. Jasper told Andy all that had occurred that day so far. His friend could barely believe his ears about what Mariette did, but in all honesty, he wasn't that surprised. She had always given Andy a bad feeling, like she wasn't to be trusted. Andy knew how his friend thought, and that he wouldn't want to talk about the dumping incident at all. He decided to focus on the goings-on at school instead. "Your teacher's a douche." "Yeah, I've been aware of that for some time now." Jasper's attention was on the table, trying to decide which ball to aim for. Honestly, I don't know what the hell this guy wants. Uh-huh, Andy replied, with a pool cue in one hand and his cell phone in the other. Andy was only pretending to listen now, his thumb moving at the speed of light, texting while Jasper vented his frustrations. Jasper took aim at the cue ball and connected, only to miss his shot. Write what you know, Jasper said, repeating the words of his teacher in a mocking way. That's what he's always saying. Well, sorry, I've never met someone who's looking to conquer the world. Uh-huh, Andy replied as his thumb moved as fast as it could on the keys. It's your turn. Oh, yeah, Andy said, snapping out of his trance and putting his phone away. He stepped up to the table, looking for a shot. So maybe he wants you to start off small. You know, get your feet wet or something. Yeah, I guess, Jasper said. But does he have to be so obnoxious about it? Andy took a shot and made it into the pocket. He then looked around for another shot. Most of our teachers have always been jerks. Your stripes. But there's something about him, Jasper continued as Andy looked at the table. I can't put my finger on it, but I can just tell that there's something off about the guy. You know what I mean? No, Andy said, looking up. Never mind. Jasper could not find the words to express himself, and he found it ironic in a tragic sort of way. While Andy took his shot, Jasper couldn't help but see the massive beast of a man still standing near the bar and looking in their general direction. He swallowed hard and tried not to show that he had noticed. They waited a little longer, and finally the person they had been waiting for showed up. They played an entire game and started another when she finally came in. You boys ready to get your butts whooped? She proclaimed, with a fake confidence of a person who hardly ever plays. We're not playing pro rules, are we? Hell no, Andy said. Oh, good. It will have to be cutthroat, Jasper added. Megan didn't notice Jasper's words, but instead that he was still wearing his tie from work, and his sleeves were not rolled up. In fact, he looked like a manager of Shenanigans. Megan immediately walked over to loosen the tie, regardless of what Jasper thought. Hey, my headache's gone, Jasper joked, which made Megan laugh. You know, I've been thinking, Megan said. For your 2-month anniversary, you should take Mariette to the place you had your first date. It was then that she noticed Andy standing behind Jasper, waving both arms and shaking his head. He was trying to indicate that she had just made a huge mistake. Mariette won't be coming, Jasper said. Tonight? Megan was confused. Ever. Jasper looked to the billiard table, wanting only to play the game and forget about the crap that had happened that day. Megan realized that she had put her foot in her mouth. She's a bitch. You can do so much better, she exclaimed, changing her attitude about Jasper's now ex-girlfriend. Thank you, Jasper muttered, as he lined up to break. As Jasper broke, Megan gave Andy's shoulder a smack. Hey, I tried to tell you, he said. Check your texts. Don't worry. We'll get you back on the horse, Megan stated. I'm fine, thank you, Jasper lied, his voice showing absolutely no interest in dating, or even talking about it. We only went out on a couple of dates, really. It's all right to have it end now instead of later. Is there anything else I should be aware of? Let me read that again. Is there anything else I should be aware of? Megan asked Andy, not wanting any more surprises. No, Andy replied, shaking his head quickly. My God, what a bitch, Megan muttered, so Jasper could not hear. He was busy taking another shot, and missed entirely. Still not as bad as that girl who tried to get him to join the cult, Andy said. Hey, what was her name again? I don't know, Megan admitted. Andy was now practically yelling across the table, the alcohol having removed all good sense from him. Hey, dude, who was that girl who tried to get you to join the cult? Alice, Jasper replied, as he walked back to them. Your shot. Where is she now? Andy asked. Getting her head shaved. How the hell should I know? I had a guy dump me through email once, Megan added. Didn't you have a girl do the same thing, Jazz? Their game passed, and both Andy and Megan were glad when the nachos arrived. Jasper didn't have much of an appetite. He sat at one of the tall tables, his chin resting on his palm. Megan was in the middle of a story about what happened at work that day. What had happened at work that day. So we spent an hour unloading this damn thing. The box was the size of a refrigerator. And finally we get the thing out and start to assemble it. And can you believe it? It's already broken. It must have happened during delivery. Didn't you wait a month for that machine? Jasper asked, his disbelief matching Megan's. Yeah, Megan continued, her face turning red. Now we gotta put the damn thing back together and ship it back to the company. That sucks, Jasper said, as Andy looked at the table, trying to pick a shot. They had gotten a second round and finished their first game of cutthroat. They were talking about what had happened that day. Unfortunately, they were talking about what had happened with Jasper and his teacher, something that actually annoyed him. He always hated being the center of attention. Really? It's not in there, sorry. He's going to fail you just because you don't agree with his politics? Megan asked. Why not just agree with him for the time being? Andy suggested. Don't you need this class? Yeah, I need to pass it for my English degree. I won't finish my degree until next semester, though. How about retaking the class? Megan suggested. She smiled, thinking that she had come up with a breakthrough idea. You can drop this one and retake it. He's the only professor who teaches this class. Oh my God, you're kidding, Megan said, her hope crushed. I can retake the class and just fail that one too. I say again, Andy interjected, as he was about to take a shot. Just agree with the guy in order to get a good grade. Great, so I write a bunch of propaganda that I don't agree with just for a passing grade. Is this how the press is run these days? Yes, Megan said, then took a drink of her Long Island iced tea. Hey, how come you didn't tell me that Steve threatened to beat you up? Steve is an ape, Andy observed. He's also all talk, so I wouldn't worry. He only did that because of his bitch girlfriend. He obeys every single one of her commands. When a woman offers a man sex, he'll do anything, Jasper said. Really? Besides, that ape can break me in half, literally. I don't want to antagonize him. You should really stand up to him, Megan suggested. I mean, what's he going to do? Seriously, Jazz, what's he going to do? Seriously, Jazz, if he touches you, just have the schmuck arrested. Besides, is he really going to beat you up in the parking lot in view of other people? Well, I guess not, Jasper said. Women love confidence, Jasper. I mean, if I saw a guy like you standing up to a guy twice his size... let me say this again, because there's punctuation's missing. I mean, if I saw a guy like you standing up to a guy twice his size, standing up for himself... One more time. I mean, if I saw a guy like you standing up to a guy twice his size, standing up for himself, that would be a huge turn-on. Hey, Andy interjected. I'm just using that as an example, baby. Relax. Oh, come on, a huge turn-on? Jasper found her statement hard to believe. Well, certainly better than seeing him cower, Megan said. What does Missy have against you, anyway? She's had it in it for him since the 9th grade, Andy said. We always had a joke that she was really one of Satan's illegitimate kids. Doesn't matter, Jasper added. Longer reading today, but that's it. That's it for the reading. There's no paragraph break. There's no section break. Nothing. It's just the end of that discussion between Andy, Megan, and Jasper. So there's a couple things in this section. This section kind of broached on the disgustingly mediocre. Dialogue is the biggest thing here between Jasper, Andy, and Megan. And quality-wise, it sounds, when it comes to the different people talking, it sounds like they're speaking with exactly the same voice. Each of them uses the same kind of inflection. Each of them uses the same, not conjunction, but the same shortened versions of words, gotta, etc. And each of them put the emphasis on Each of them put the same emphasis on the same points in their sentences. This kind of shows to me, especially, that Jasper really has, again, no idea how to write dialogue. But and of course we've got a couple points in here where John's politics kind of shine through. So let's get started. There's a bunch here and I want to fly through it. I can't really spend more than 10 minutes on it. We meet Andy, his best friend, with no description. I mean, it's his best friend. Sure, great. They're the same age. Whoop-de-doo. What does he look like? It could be the fact that John just added this character because he needed a main ally for the protagonist. There's no depth to this character. And it just... Yeah, no depth to the character. And we see him throughout the book. The only detail we have of him: he finally saw Andy, a young man of the same age he had known for years through school and work, running up to the door. That's it. Next. All of the use of italics is kind of silly. Because, I mean, you saw my gesturing when things were italicized. And John uses them kind of indiscriminately. And where usually you'd use italics as thought processes, which John has actually done in the past, he's using them to emphasize words, which is silly. I mean, the dialogue itself should emphasize the words. You shouldn't have to worry about adding emphasis. But I was busy with all kinds. Back to kind of the concept of Jasper and all of the evil characters that John puts up against Jasper and Morgalla even. This is when John bumps shoulders with this guy in the bar. The beast of a man looked like a troglodyte. He was incredibly muscular and tall, like a brick wall that had started walking and talking. His hair was messy and unclean. Messy is unclean. And his forehead sloped like a caveman's, which says nothing. Bloodshot eyes looked down as he sneered at the intimidated Jasper, who had to take a step back. He could swore he saw fangs in the oversized teeth. This is, again, an example of the baddies being essentially this big, bulky, burly... Everyone who's bigger than Jasper is evil, more or less. Everyone who's got something on Jasper, advantage-wise, be it strength, be it smarts, be it beauty, is always the bad guy. Rather than, Jasper understanding that the best way to get ahead in life is to actually make yourself, or to boost yourself up to get yourself... I can't even finish the thought because it's so bad. So, and then we kind of have an implication here. Watch it, human, the beast growl at him. That we'll hear a bit more in the next section if I can finish, or if I can get to that point. No description as to Shenanigans. They say it's a bar, bar and pub, because they're able to order food. What the hell is with that guy? Blah, 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 blah. This section kind of proves to me that Andy is essentially an extension of John. Essentially the yes man to Jasper, who will always agree with what Jasper believes, never dissent. His friend could only believe... plus, his friend could barely believe his ears about what Mariette did, but in all honesty, he wasn't that surprised. This is contradictory. She had always given Andy a bad feeling, like she wasn't to be trusted. Andy knew how his friend thought, and that he wouldn't want to talk about the dumping incident at all. It's realistic for a friend, to know how someone else thinks. But it's not realistic for what Andy does. And that is essentially agree with every position that John has. I mean, we get to it more in this section of the bar, where Andy starts talking about Jasper's teacher. Your teacher's a douche. I mean, he says it right here. Your teacher's a douche. Yeah, I've been aware of that for some time now. Jasper starts going off on Mr. Kent once again, yet he still never really gives us any kind of example of what Mr. Kent is doing, aside from, well, he doesn't agree with your politics. That is not descriptive enough for the reader, for us, to really make a definitive judgment one way or another based on essentially what Jasper's saying. And in my case, being someone who's worked in academia, I'm far more likely to side with the teacher than a student that's most likely failing most, if not all, of his classes. So, John's use of essentially descriptors is about as fluid as an alcoholic's breakfast. Andy is texting Megan here. Andy was now only pretending to listen now. His thumb moved at the speed of light, texting while Jasper vented his frustrations. That doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be there. Describe it some other way. He texted rapidly. His fingers flew across the keys or something. His thumb moving at the speed of light. There's a line in here that I really don't understand where it's coming from. That's write what you know, Jasper said, repeating the words of his teacher in a mocking way. Yeah, that's going to help. That's what he's always saying. Well, sorry, I've never met someone who's looking to conquer the world. Maybe one of my readers can, or one of my listeners can help me here. I really don't know what this kind of applies to. Is it implying that John knows how to take over the world, or should know how to take over the world, or John should think that, you know, the liberal Mr. Kent is trying or wants to take over the world? I don't know. But it's out of place. Oh, then later on, oh yeah, Andy said, snapping out of his trance, putting his phone away. So maybe he wants you to start off small, you know, get your feet wet or something. Yeah, I guess, but does he have to be so obnoxious about it? This implies both directly and implicitly that Jasper's not that it's more Jasper. Jasper doesn't like how Mr. Kent is doing something, rather than it being Mr. Kent who's really getting or going after Jasper specifically. And this isn't just starting off small. He's had numerous drafts of at least one essay to Mr. Kent. There is no starting off. This is the middle of the freaking semester, or appears to be. Most of our teachers have always been jerks. This coming from Andy. That, again, agrees with John, who said previously that all teachers are underworked and overpaid. So, again, a yes man. Jasper continued, but there's something about him, Jasper continued as Andy looked at the table. I can't put my finger on it, but I can just tell that there's something off about the guy. You know what I mean? This is more of John coming through Jasper. I don't know if it should be considered foreshadowing because of what's going to happen, but Jasper, later in the book, of course. But Jasper here is essentially saying, well, there's something wrong with him. I just know there's something wrong with him, without any kind of support whatsoever. And it makes it look, again, like John doesn't know how to write inferences from people or characters in this book. So, right. He misuses ironic. I gotta jump ahead. We're running out of time. Talking about the anniversary with Mariette. Megan implies something about a 2-month anniversary for Mariette. This almost implies to me that Jasper's been seeing Mariette for a while longer than just, well, 2 dates, but 2 dates over a longer period of time. Again, and Megan throws himself behind Jasper without even getting the other side of the story. She's a bitch. Don't worry, we'll get you back on the horse. My God, what a bitch. For what? Not wanting to be with him? Wanting to go with someone who actually has a future? Not wanting to be with a pathetic little... a character like Jasper who really has nothing going for him? I wouldn't call that a bitch, but that's me. That's me. I don't know if this implies anything according to... Well, because a smiling malice, Allie, who has been critiquing John's book for a while now. I don't know if this really goes directly, is targeted straight at her. But hey, dude, who was the girl who tried to get you to join the cult? Alice, Jasper replied. Your shot. I don't know what that implies. I mean, it could just be a name. It could have an implication there, but I don't know. They get back to talking about Mr. Kent. He essentially says it again that, he's failing you because you don't agree with him? No. From everything that I've put forward so far, I think it's pretty well supported that Jasper is pretty much a bad student. Andy obviously gets it. Why don't you just agree with him so you can get the grade? It's silly. And yeah, it's again more juvenile bullshit. Agree with the teacher and you'll get the grade. No, actually do what the teacher wants. Actually try to do some of the work that the teacher wants you to do, and you'll get the grade. It's my Mr. Kent rewrite's coming along. I'm several pages into it, but it's taking longer than I want. I want to get that up. Oh, and one last bit of John's voice bleeding through. Great. So I write a bunch of propaganda that I don't agree with just for a passing grade. Is this how the press is run these days? Yes, Megan said. So essentially, he's making a question that should be an open-ended question, but Megan, this character who always agrees with him, essentially says yes. So, and again, this is right-wing crap at work, where, it's the liberal media. The liberal media is evil, even though there's a significant conservative media as well. There's both sides of the argument. You just have to look. More bitch girlfriend, Steve. Oh, and when a woman offers a man sex, he'll do anything more, of John's own words bleeding through. This is obvious. This is not the case. I mean, John has no concept of boyfriend, girlfriend, if that's all he thinks it is. And no wonder the actual John out in the real world is single, like a virgin at 40 or something. I don't quote me on that. I'm fairly certain it's the case, but I don't know. Talks more about. We do get some history on Missy. This is going to run a bit longer. We always had it. She had it in for him since 9th grade. Andy said we always joked that she was really one of Satan's illegitimate kids, and there we go. It's a petty bully relationship between Jasper and Missy. They're out of high school. Jasper's going to college. Missy has apparently a job and a boyfriend with a job. This is years after the fact. And it's a petty, vindictive, and just stupid reason to keep picking on someone just because she had it in for him in middle school. So that's it. There was a little bit more that I wanted to do, but I'm out of time for a 30-minute video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care. Na zdorano, na zdrowie. Peace.